И так как мы боролись с террористами, нам сегодня приходится бороться с теми, кто творит преступления в Курской области, в Донбассе, в Новороссии.
He was talking to family members from the Beslan terrorist attack from, I think, 20 years ago. And he was saying, just like we dealt with that back then, we're going to deal with it now. Talking about this incursion into his country like it's a terrorist attack. And when you hear that, how do you respond to that?
Well, I think he's being very straightforward from his vantage point. This was never a serious military operation because it had zero chance of being successful. So from his vantage point, it really is a terrorist attack. They moved into the territory. They terrorized the people that they encountered. They inflicted whatever modest damage that they could. And then they planned to withdraw because they could never reach their objective, whatever their original purpose was, which I still think was the nuclear power plant. So he's saying we'll treat it as a terrorist attack. And I would expect that lots of people in Ukraine who have connections to this, and probably some NATO officers and personnel on the ground in Ukraine that had something to do with this, will end up dead as a result. And we'll see the Russians over time exact a price. But as I say, it will not be what we anticipate or expect. I don't think there's a great deal that Ukraine can do now. Russia essentially has a free hand. It can move and strike wherever it wants to go. The question now on the desk for President Putin is how much longer do we wait before we move forward and effectively snuff out, exterminate this regime in Kiev? Because from their vantage point, this is a terrorist regime. We've set them up. Their sole purpose from the very beginning, at least in Washington, was to inflict harm on Russia. In other words, to harm and terrorize Russia and its people. Insane as that sounds to most Americans, because I don't think most Americans paid much attention from the beginning, and we're all too ready to believe bad things about Russians based on decades of Cold War experience. Sadly, they didn't pay much attention. Well, they better pay attention now. This is a very serious matter, and we are truly overstretched. We have about a third of the United States Navy sitting in the Mediterranean, the Red Sea, and the Indian Ocean. We have tens of thousands of servicemen, Army, Marine, Air Force, all over the region. This is a very dangerous situation, because why would you, if you had any influence right now, as Mr. Putin obviously does, why would you exercise restraint towards them? When have we given him an incentive to either believe anything we say, or more important, to refrain from damaging us? I think we're very fortunate to this point that worse things have not happened to us, including here in the Western Hemisphere.